Hello, this is Teather Time, brought to you by no one. This is episode 2 of season 1. I'm joined again by Eleanor, because that's kind of the point of the show. It really is our podcast, so you're going to be seeing a lot of her. And this week, we're going to talk about more things. I don't have anything planned. I've been on holiday. I don't know if Eleanor's got anything planned, but I do have questions for her, so join us for the ride.
Okay, that could be fun. I do have something planned, which is I'm just going to piggyback off what you were talking about last time.
Yes, this is my follow-up.
Yes, yeah, so I'm following up on what you talked about last time. And yeah, you shall see.
Cool. Yeah.
I've not read the book yet, but I do have it downloaded off Audible.
Oh, you did the audiobook? I wasn't expecting that.
Well, I wasn't either, but so... Wait, I don't want people to know where I live. Cut that.
Eleanor.
Or bleep it for the...
is massive.
It is, but it's big. It's small enough that I don't want people to know where I live. Maybe I'll mention it later on.
Okay,
but
cool. We'll bleep.
Exactly. What was I saying? Oh yes. So my local library services. I signed up for my local library services, and I went onto the website and was like, "Yay! I'm going to reserve some books." And then the reservation system required me to have a PIN, so I emailed them, and they were like, "Oh yes, sure, we'll get right back to you." And they didn't, and I've never chased it, and now I'm moving out in 2 months, so there's really no point. So yeah, getting hold of books is a faff at the moment, because unless it's in my local, it's just not going to happen. And even then, my local is not in a particular, like, it's down a big hill, so I don't want to go there. So,
I think
but I do have
hills,
Audible.
I think you've already added yourself, so like, that's a joke.
There are so many cities in the UK with big hills.
No.
Mine is a particularly big hill. Getting up it in a car required first gear, so that was fun. Yeah. So I do not want to walk up it unless I have to. So yeah. So I haven't got it, but I downloaded Audible because I'm currently reading
We're not sponsored, sadly.
Rhythms
Audible
of
sponsor
War.
us.
Audible, yes please, sponsor us. Also, I'm going to just now ramble about my bro, Brandon Sanderson, because I love him.
Yep.
My favourite author. So I'm reading Rhythms of War by Brandon Sanderson, which is really good, and everyone should read the Stormlight Archives. That's not true. People should not read the Stormlight Archives unless they've read Brandon Sanderson before, because all of the books are like 1,200 pages long, and that is a commitment. I can't remember how long. Yeah, I was going to check how long the audiobook is, but it's probably like 20 hours. So I have that, and because it's 1,200 pages long and hardback, I can't carry it to uni with me just for reading at lunchtime because it's too heavy to be worth it. So, big brain, downloaded the audiobook, so now I can listen to it on the way to campus.
And it's easier, and it's also easier to listen to an audiobook while eating lunch than it is to listen than to read while eating.
Yes.
Just saying, productivity to help.
Yes.
So on the topic of brains, I have 2 thoughts that I think. Well, one of them we already answered. Did Eleanor actually read the book like she said she was going to? The answer is no. But the other one.
No, but she's downloaded it.
Yeah, you've downloaded it. It's a good start. The other one is you said, "Oh, I'm not creative." That is a blatant lie, Eleanor, because
So I did specifically mean in the, like, content creator definition of the word, because I do creative things, but not.
So this was that's what I was about to say. What I was going to say is, you are, because we all are, you're a knowledge worker, Eleanor. Everyone's a knowledge worker, because you don't, unless you've had a change of career and you're working at one of the steel plants, you are going to be working with your mind and your ideas. That's what modern work is, particularly in a first world country. It's a lot of just creating knowledge, if that makes sense. And so you are a knowledge worker, so a system of collecting knowledge, even in terms of science, where did the ideas come from? What are your how are you thinking about a problem? Those are coming from you and your ideas, because you're a knowledge worker. And so you should put time into collecting your idea of knowledge, because it will have an impact on all of your work.
So, I don't understand what you're saying. Explain it to me again. So, you're saying, are you just saying that that is another reason to be doing and having a good note-taking system? Or are you saying that my the way that I am going to do my career, I am going to be being creative in my career.
Both. So I just googled it. According to Wikipedia, knowledge workers are workers whose main capital is knowledge. Examples include programmers, physicians, pharmacists, architects, engineers, scientists, design thinkers, public accountants, lawyers, editors, and academics, whose jobs are to think for a living. So you're going to be thinking. That's what you're going to be doing, because you're going to be thinking about the sciences. Hello, could you tell me?
Yes.
Oh, I am a STEM now. That can be a side.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you joined the STEM
I've joined
side.
them. I can stop feeling weird because context. I hang out with a lot of STEM
You get
people.
to be a woman in STEM.
I will be a woman in STEM. I followed women in STEM
Bunsen
page.
burner.
I'm gonna bleep where I'm from as well. Now that'll be funny. Yeah. So.
In this.
Yeah, you're gonna. Yeah. So yeah, you're gonna need your knowledge. Your knowledge is gonna be important, and you're going to be. So you might as well take care of it. It would be like, to me, I think there is an argument to be made that not looking after your knowledge as a knowledge worker would be a little bit like being an athlete and not working out, like...
Yeah.
Your ideas are your currency, Eleanor.
That makes me so sad.
Why?
I don't want to live in a capitalist society. I don't want my ideas to be currency. I just want them to be beautiful, free creations.
Well, even if you want
floating on the
free
wind,
creations, you need to remember them and you need to collect them. And our human brains are objectively not good at remembering things.
You are correct. And that's why exams are a terrible way of assessing knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
So yeah, that's why you
thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Well, so what I'm making annoying noises. So what I realised is that I feel like for this podcast I need like a silent fidget thing.
Yeah.
Because I'm too excited. So yeah, what I realised is that, and this is something I've realised quite a lot recently, is that I'm very organised in my work life.
Yeah.
And it's like I channel all of my organisational power into my work life, and then I don't have any energy left for home and social. So it goes very like blah.
Yeah.
So I do have systems in place, and I didn't even know that I had systems, or to think of them as systems, for my uni work. I mean, for years it's been like paper, because I've done all my notes on paper, and I've been putting them into folders, and that's been how I've been doing that. So that was like a system, and I think it's quite a simple. You're just using labels and stuff, and then also things like I use Citation Software, so all of and I use that not just for citations, but also for like making notes and highlighting papers and all of that. And like I got so angry, so I use Mendeley, and there was a fault, and all of my folders got unfolded, and they all got dumped into a main folder. Right, and I was caught. So like, and I feel like if you're not a person who organizes stuff, you're not gonna.
I think anyone. I don't think there's anyone who uses software like that, and that wouldn't be awful.
Well, so the person on the end of the helpline really didn't get why I was upset about this. They were very nice about it. Obviously, they were in like a customer service. Like, I'm very sorry that happened to you. And I was like, is there nothing? I was asking, I was probably being quite annoying. I was asking loads of questions because I was like, surely there's something that can be done. But it wasn't that, so I have like 4 main folders.
Yeah.
And then within one of the folders, because these were like essay, my big project.
Yeah.
So my big project, I had a bunch of sub-folders.
Eleanor, you're already using a quarter of the organisation. You're already using a half of the organisation system recommended in the book for that. So like, you're already on the way to using Para. Like... Perfect.
So yeah. So, side note, I think that part of the reason I think audiobook might be a good idea, because I never sit down to listen.
Yeah.
I never sit down to read. Oh, I was going to talk about... Never mind. I never sit down to read nonfiction, but if I'm just walking somewhere, I'll engage with nonfiction. I have nonfiction podcasts. So, anyway. So, yeah. So I had this system, and then all of my project references, which thankfully, not actually that many, because for this project I have maybe like 50 references.
Yeah.
If it had been last year I had like 150 references, and if they had got all unsorted, I'd have cried.
Yeah. That would have been valid.
Because last year, last year I was writing an 8,000 word literature review, and this time I was writing a 3,000 to 4,000 word literature review. So
This scares me. I'm scared. I don't want to be I'm so glad I'm a fresher again. I don't have to worry.
Yeah, well, I think it also, like, it depends what will be expected of you at the time. So yeah, all of my project subfolders disappeared, so they were all just in the project folder, which is good, because if they'd been muddled in with the other 4, that would have been a real disaster, because then it would have been like, I'd have had to go through everything, resort it, because I can't be like, is this a cements thing, or is this a something else thing? But it's still frustrating, because it was like really handy to have all those and be like, oh, I'm working on this topic at the moment, I'm looking at spin glasses, I'm going to go into the folder that's about that stuff, instead of having to just scroll through everything. But the person I was speaking to did not get why I was upset about it. They were like, well, you haven't lost your references, have you? And I was like, no, but I've lost the system.
No, that's valid. Like, that's totally valid to be super upset about losing all of the system.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm glad you understand.
I understand. The system. What can I say?
A system sister. That would have been a better podcast name.
Oh my... The System Sisters. But we're not... But the thing is, though, that would have been such a misnomer, because we're both so ADHD that we don't actually follow our systems. We just like to have them, like...
So, this is the thing. I was having a really, like, bzz day, and my brain was just... And I was teaching, so I tutor part-time. And in the middle of my lesson, I was Googling the symptoms of ADHD, because I was so distracted that I couldn't focus on just teaching, which is not good. Don't tell my boss.
I hope your boss doesn't listen to this, Elder.
I think, but so probably do have ADHD. But one of the things I realized when I was looking at stuff about ADHD was it was like, I think that if I have ADHD, that the reason it's kind of gone under the radar is because I'm very organized in my work, but that's because I channel all of my energy into that, and then everything else is just like, and I don't, and then that leads me to feeling inadequate, because I feel like I should be as organized as I am in my work life everywhere else, and that's my headphones. And then I'm not.
The idea is you don't need a whole nother system for your personal life. You just piggyback it off the systems you're already using in your work life. Like,
yeah. Well, so this was a long intro to get me to the point, which was I sorted out a bunch of my systems, and now they are organized.
Oh, tell me, what systems did you sort out?
I'm using Pinterest and Notion as my like 2 main groups, and basically what I did
is not what I expect. That is a choice. Pinterest is cool.
Hold on there. Hold your horses. So the reason that I've gone... So basically what I had is I had a series of notes for different things. So let's take, for example, crafts. So sewing... I really want to do... I wanted to make a dress. That's a project for when I have more time and also access to my sewing machine because it's at home. And
yeah, I think I'm sitting next to it. I think your sewing machine's somewhere in this room, right?
I think so. Or it's downstairs in the craft cupboard.
Yeah, one or two. Might be in the craft cupboard.
Anyway,
yeah.
Irrelevant. So I want to sew a dress. And I had... or I've got a better example. Scratch that. I want to sew a like matching crop top and bottoms outfit, which I think would be really cute. So I had like a sort of mood board of ideas on Pinterest, along with a pattern saved for a pair of trousers. I don't think I want to do trousers anymore, but I had a pattern saved for trousers. I then had some reels saved on Instagram, and I had some videos of people doing a very similar thing saved on YouTube.
Yeah.
But these are all the same ideas, so I should have them all in the same place.
Yeah. Even if you just have a link, even if you just have a Notion note with all of those listed, and you link to all of those folders where you've got that stuff stored, that's fine. It's just a good way to kind of, like...
So there was, like, sewing projects, hair and makeup. So I essentially thinking of, like, fun, creative hobbies as Pinterest, because a lot of those were already on Pinterest, so there's no point moving them all the way over to Notion. But also...
And Pinterest is great for that. It's a good way to grab things all over the internet, right?
Yes. Especially if that thing is like eyeshadow ideas, because if I'm looking through my Pinterest board and I can see... Because Notion, you can't see image... Well, you can, but it's a faff. So I'm seeing all the images, and then I'm like, oh, I want to try this style of makeup. I've got it saved.
Yeah, definitely.
So I've collated all of that. The only problem is that sharing things on Instagram is an absolute nightmare. And if I can't do it on my phone because I click share and Pinterest just loads for 5 minutes. So what I might have to do is like have like a once a month I go through and I upload all my saved reels to Instagram. So yeah, I did that. And then some other stuff I set up on Notion. So I moved a lot of my Dungeons and Dragons notes into that because I already had a bunch there.
Yeah.
I did that a little while ago with most of them, but now I've got more.
Yeah.
And then I set up, so I had some reels saved and some photos taken on my phone and some TikTok saved of book recommendations. Oh, and I had a note of book recommendations from other people. So that I knew was terrible.
Yeah.
And now I have a table in Notion,
Yeah.
which has like columns. So it has like author's name, book name, author name, and then it's got a multi-select for the genre / why I might want to read it.
Yeah.
And then I have who recommended it to me.
Yeah,
and
who I recommended it to
it's
is so
nice.
Who recommended it to me is such a good note to have, because sometimes you look at a book and go, that sounds awful 5 years later after I added this, and then you're like, oh, it's one of these books. Okay. Because I've got a bunch on there that are recommended on my list from this YouTuber, Graham Stefan. If you know the finance space, you know Graham Stefan. Can't stand him anymore, but I used to think he was the gospel. So I had all his books he recommended, and now I'm like, no, I'm not going to read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That doesn't sound like a useful use of my time. Like,
yeah. And like, I didn't have any point there. Oh, I know what I was going to say. It's just, it's also really funny when you look through where they've come from because you can see trends. So it's like, this person has recommended me 5 fantasy books. And then you look through all the ones that are recommended from TikTok and they all have the LGBT tag.
Yeah.
It's like, TikTok wants me to read gay books.
Yeah, of course it does. That's what TikTok is cool.
And I support that. They all had the LGBT or POC tag. It was one of the two. One of the TikToks that I went through was a list of recommendations of books based on African mythology. I want to read them.
That sounds,
so yeah, that's what I did. I did that on Monday when it was too hot to sit in my bedroom. And all my usual plans were cancelled. We were supposed to play D&D and it was too hot. So I sat in my living room and I spent 2 hours sorting through everything, and I hyper-focused until I couldn't move until my housemate came in and I was like, oh, thank you.
I had that when I edited. If you guys are watching this, then the last episode, we're recording an hour and 40 minutes after the last episode went air. That episode I hyperfixated on so hard when I edited. Like, I was there, I like started editing at 20 to 10, and I finished editing like 10 minutes later and it was quarter to midnight, and I was like, oops.
I mean, that's on you for starting it to get 20 to 10.
Yeah, I mean, I just had the motivation that I was like, okay, then cool, I'll do it. I find editing late at night, there's some projects like editing and coding that I normally do best late at night because my brain kind of, I've got the focus for it. I'm like, ugh, brain.
Oh, coding is one of the only things I can do late at night.
Coding, there's a weird thing coding late at night. It's like very therapeutic. It's like, oh, let me just give a little bit of time. I'm sure you're going to hear more about programming because my thing for the week is I went through clearing and I'm now doing computer science at the uni in my hometown, which is pretty neat. So I don't have to move out again, so I'm going to get to live rent-free with my sister and my family. And yeah, so I'm going to get to be a fresher again, so 4 more years of education. Yeah. So I think in the long run, this has been great for the podcast because now we will have my entire university journey right there. And yeah, you know you made a good decision when your therapist is like, I think you've made a good decision there. And you're like,
did they think that? Oh, that's lovely.
Out loud, like with words. My therapist doesn't do that. She doesn't give her opinion. So I was like, wow, okay, then you were like, okay, cool, you agree with me here that this is good choice. I uploaded a YouTube video this week. Well, I haven't uploaded it yet, but I recorded one. I've got it on my phone. It's my next editing project for this week is me. I'm going to record a YouTube bit. Well, I've recorded it. Now I need to edit it down because... And I realised doing it, I've written 4 scripts a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm happy now. I've got 4 scripts. I can make a YouTube video. And I was like, oh, why don't I want to record these? And I was reading them back, and it's like, oh, it's because they're not interesting to me. I'm not excited by what I've written.
Mm-hmm.
And so my plan now is I'm just gonna try the next. I'm gonna go back to the drawing board because I've looked at a lot of my ideas and I've kind of gone, oh, I don't want to make any of these, which means I've got a lot of ideas. Maybe in the future I'll want to write them again because I clearly did at some point because I came up with the ideas and I've written some of the scripts. But now I've looked back at the scripts and gone, oh, all except for this town one, I'm not that interested in. What do I even want to talk about? And so the next one I want to make after this is I want to script out. I'm going to start making videos just about my D&D world because I can talk about my world for like hours and hours and hours like with no issues. So I'm just going to like I'm going to go through that and I'm going to be like, oh yeah, here's this bit of my world, here's this bit of my world. And like I had a cool idea today for my D&D world and I'm like, I just want to write that now and I want to run a game with that feature now. So I'm just going to do that and see where it goes because my goal is to make a video a week and so far I'm failing a little bit. So we'll see how this goes.
But you did like write the scripts and then you just realised that you didn't want to do those. So that's a really good start.
I think it was a useful start because now I know what I don't. I've got a better idea of what I don't want to make. And like even if I just make one video a month, this is another video, it's another one. I can even because apparently I'm just in a very creative YouTuber mood at the moment, podcast and videos, but we'll see how it goes.
Can you I mean I know, but can you tell the non-existent listeners what your YouTube channel is about?
Well, it's linked. It's linked in the script in the YouTube on the
okay, but
YouTube
then
channel on the page.
Then they have to go and click, and I'm lazy.
Yeah, they should go click.
Go click.
No,
but
I'm making
Frederico.
I'm making
pitch
D&D
your
videos.
YouTube channel.
I'm making D&D videos. I don't know. Like we'll see where it goes. I'll stop making D&D videos and make something else if the mood takes me. Like at one point I was gonna make a video about making Teather Time, so there might be a behind the scenes video that I make. I thought about some other things, like I thought about being one of those cringy YouTubers who does something for like a week and then reviews doing the thing for a week. Like I've always wanted to start writing fiction, and I'm thinking of making a video where I write fiction every morning for an hour or something, even if I just stare at a blank page for an hour and walk away. But like I don't know, we'll see where it takes me. But the YouTube channel, like the podcast, has no theme because I don't like themes. I'll make whatever I want to make. If people want to watch it, they'll watch it.
Yeah. What was it that you didn't like about the scripts that you wrote?
So let's look at So I can just talk about this. Who cares? No one's.
So this is good. This is interesting.
Scripts I'd written was I'd scripted. I'd started scripting a recap of my Uni Monster Hearts game, and I realized the issue with that was I was including information that actually didn't matter in the story anymore because it was fun at the time, but it won't matter. So I want to go back to the drawing board on that, and I want to turn it into a much more narrative video where I talk about the plot of my game. I describe it as a story, which would almost require me to write the whole thing down as a short story and then read that out. That's kind of what I'm thinking, because like I could talk about like everything that happened, but like in the game some arguments happened that don't matter, and 2 players dropped out middle of the way through, so they never mattered in the story. So I feel like I don't need to talk about their characters. Then I'd written a while ago, I'd written a video about how I prep a session, but like that's not how I prep a session, and that was based on how I was prepping that session that one time, and I'm not running D&D that often at the moment, so like this isn't how I'd prep a session now. I don't even know if I agree with the stuff past me was doing, because reading Building a Second Brain has made me totally reconsider how I want to do notes for D&D, because I think my notes for D&D were so bad in the past. And then I had the video about making your own town, which I actually recorded and enjoyed. And I also I also wrote down a video idea for a short about how to like get into D&D. But again, I'm like, I don't feel like it's actually good content. I feel like I'm just trying to make something for the sake of writing a script.
Yeah.
Whereas the how to make your own town, I actually had an idea. That video had a purpose. I feel like that was what was missing from the other videos, is they didn't have a purpose. They were just me talking about things because I'd set this goal of talking once a week, and I'm like, I don't know if that's really the goal. Like, what's the point of just uploading once a week if the video is going to be really bad? The video needs a purpose, a reason to exist. So
yeah, that's interesting, because I think, well, what I think is interesting about that is that the towns video was the only video that you'd properly told me about. Yeah. The Monster Hearts video, you'd sort of mentioned in passing that you wanted to talk about that.
Yeah.
But the towns one was the one you were really excited about. You talked to me about that. I also want to watch that video.
Yeah.
So I think that's interesting that that's the one that has lodged in my brain.
I think basically I want to make videos for like dungeon masters like me who I think I'm getting there, but I still need frameworks because I can't just know something's good. For me, it makes writing and creativity a lot easier if I have like a really has like a what I'm doing. Like when I'm editing a podcast, I like that creativity because I know what I got to do. I've got a limited amount of footage, a limited amount of time. I've just got to make something from it. I'm not going to go back and re-record or anything. Whereas with this, I was just like, I don't know what I want to talk about at all.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
I mean, an interesting video that I could definitely do. I should note this one down. This is a good idea. An interesting video I could definitely do is like, oh, how do I get to the page where I can write this down? Let me. Is like I want to do when I get to. I've set myself the goal of reviewing the podcast in a month's time. Like, well, not like reviewing, but like thinking about like, oh, is this actually working? Like long term, is this like? I shouldn't have written that down while recording it, but yeah.
No, that's fine. We can just cut that.
Yeah, we can just cut that all. Like that's actual capture, actual second brain capture right there on recording. But yeah, like what is? How do I phrase this? I want to make at some point I need to review, is the podcast working? Like after our 8 episodes, we're gonna, obviously me and you are gonna discuss, do we actually like doing this? And I feel like I might as well record my thoughts at that point into a YouTube video and save that. And I'll probably review making YouTube videos. If I actually make a YouTube video a week for the next 8 weeks, then I need to like decide, is this actually like, was this actually enjoyable, or do I never want to do this again?
Yeah, I think that's cool. Yeah. Circling back to the thing that you said about you want to make it for DMs who are like you, who are getting them at need a framework. I think that's really interesting because I think that's a very similar thing to what we were thinking about with this podcast of like, there are these people who are talking about the things that they do in their lives to be more productive or to like have a good work-life balance or, you know, whatever in that sort of productivity genre. But they tend to be people who are already successful, and we're people who are bigger. You know, we're not unsuccessful because we haven't got to a point where we can be successful yet.
I think it was really interesting. I don't know if I've mentioned it before, that the YouTube channel healthygamers.gg, he was making a video about the like gifted burnout issue with like a lot of kids being like gifted, like being gifted and talented kids and then burning out. And one of the things he says is typically as a gifted child, like that's like so egotistical and not like but as like you were a gifted child, like the school system teaches us that we're kind of taught that like, oh, we have to be better in a short amount of work because, oh, you're gifted, everything, life will be easy for you and you'll do better. Whereas actually it tends to take more work to get to where we want to be, because like for you, like you want to do a PhD, that's not a slow, like a fast thing. You've got friends who are already, like you've mentioned before, one of your friends who's like already working and making £30,000 a year, and you're like, PhD time. And so like I feel like different, like there's that kind of idea about it as well, as this is about us sharing our ideas and kind of from a place of we're not successful yet, we don't actually know what we're doing, which I'm enjoying.
Yeah, I think that's nice, and I think I hope that it will be like nice and quite comforting to listen to, especially if we do stuff like we talk about something 1 week and then in like 5 weeks time we come back and we're like, scratch that.
I feel like building a second brain is a project in my list, so like I feel like we're gonna come back to this like a decent bit. And at some point, I'm gonna talk about yearly themes. At some point, that's definitely a topic for an episode where I'm gonna discuss my like yearly themes, and I'll get you to make a yearly theme as well for the podcast. Maybe I'll see if I can
force a yearly theme on me.
If there's any Cortexans listening, they'll know what yearly themes are already. But
yeah, you're just gonna piggyback a podcast episode off Cortex. Don't do any of the work for yourself. Just steal it.
I'm gonna steal State of the Apps from Cortex as well, because that's such a good pod. Eleanor, State of the Apps is an episode where we go through what app we use for different things. We go through what our task manager is, what our email is, all of that stuff.
That sounds like it would get so beefy in a really fun way.
Oh, it doesn't have to be beefy. It's just really interesting.
I want it to be beefy. My absolute favourite thing is getting beefy about things that don't matter at all. Yeah, like definitely. Pineapple on pizza, hilarious.
I mean, like, you're just objectively wrong if you like pineapple on pizza, so...
Get it? Well, I'm not invested in either side with the pineapple on pizza debate.
Whoa, Eleanor, why aren't you invested? Can't you see how awful pineapple on pizza is? Doesn't that just make you feel weird looking at it?
I'll eat it.
I like, by the way, because we're recording an hour later this week, the sun has slowly set on my end, so my lighting has gone from, like, cinematic light shining in the window to really top down dark. It's pretty epic.
I'm getting really distracted by the most dramatic vista outside my window. It keeps changing, but at the moment there's like a bank of inky black grey at the bottom, and then pinky orange, and then the brightest blue at the top.
Yeah.
It's the most British. It's been horrible weather. It's been raining all day. I was going to I was at a stately home, and we were doing a walk around the grounds, and I did like 21,000 steps, and I did most of those in my heels because they were waterproof and my trainers are not. They're not big heels. They're like yay big.
I could not. I'd die.
They're like heeled boots, so they're leather, so they were waterproof.
I know the ones you're talking about.
Yeah, so it was the choice of get wet feet or get sore toes, and I went for sore toes, and that was a good choice. But I feel like my toenails have been pushed back into my feet.
Well, that's not fun. That's not fun.
Yeah. Right, we've gotten totally off topic. Was there anything else?
I feel like the issue is we don't have a topic for this episode, so I feel like it was hard to stay on topic.
Yeah. This is the reason we needed to plan things in advance, because then we'll know. Because I was like, my topic was just a follow-up topic. You did want to ask me about why I don't like reading non-fiction books.
Yeah, we should explore that, because personally, I don't read much fiction. Like, you don't read much non-fiction. What is your reason for not reading non-fiction? Because we never actually talked about this.
So when I am reading or like watching TV, I'm doing it A, for escapism, and B, for like fun. Like, it's like, this is my off time. So I want to be as far away from doing work stuff as possible. And also I love fantasy and sci-fi. I love like exploring new worlds. I think it like really appeals to my kind of curious nature. So like I really like doing that, and I just don't get the same. I guess what it is like when I'm reading and I'm really, really enjoying it, is that moment when you get like hooked in and you're like, everything is a waste of time unless I'm reading this book. I think that feeling is so much fun. And just like that, like, ooh, I want to sit down and read my book and it's going to be fun. And that like the story arc. And I feel like you don't get that in nonfiction. In nonfiction, you get some information.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
It feels more like doing homework.
Because I'm like, I enjoy the like stupid stories they give in nonfiction. I'm always like, haha, that story clearly isn't real, or that one has the ring of something genuine. Like, it's pretty funny.
I think that's also interesting because the majority of nonfiction books that I've read are pop science with a smattering of other things thrown in. Whereas obviously you've read a lot of like, I guess like self-help / I feel like this self-help sounds a bit like...
It's business books. Business books is the genre. Hardcore business book. Fan. Well, once you've read how to build a second brain, we can have a whole episode where we just discuss that from like...
Why don't you like reading fiction as much? Because you used to read a lot more fiction as a child.
I think I read more fiction than I realised. My issue with reading fiction is like, you have to really get in the mood, and I've really started to value like really short stuff. Like, to me, I feel like there's more. It's why I really like film. It's like there's more value in telling a really succinct story in an hour and a half and it being really amazing. I'd rather watch an hour and a half of pure amazingness than read or listen, in my case, to 8 hours of some bits are really good, but some bits are just dead. And that's what annoys me in books, is when a book isn't great, you'll have this bit in the middle where it's just a bit, it just doesn't quite flow, and then you get stuck. I'm like, oh, now I have to read something I don't want to listen to get to the good bit. Whereas that's why I really value those like really succinct stories where they get everything is correct and they've like cut out all of the unnecessary twaddle. Like, I don't know, and I feel like with a non-fiction book, I can just stop listening. Whereas fiction books, they tend to hide important details in really boring scenes. You have to listen.
I think that's really interesting. Yeah, I can completely see why.
Now, this is horror to some people. When I'm watching a TV show, I will skip bits. I sit there on Netflix and I skip by 15 seconds, or I'm not enjoying the scene. I'm just like, I don't need to watch something, I don't need to cringe. I can just skip. And I always enjoy shows more when I do that. Like, I watched the first episode of Ms. Marvel the other day, and there was just a couple of really cringy scenes where I was like, I don't need to watch this, and I didn't. And you can pick up what happened. You can always go back and look. If it becomes an important scene, you go back and go, oh, I missed this important detail. Let me just go check what happened.
To me, that would totally
yeah.
break my verisimilitude. My brain would be like, you know that it's not real because...
But also, it breaks my verisimilitude to not enjoy it, and then I won't keep
Yeah.
watching it, so... There's very few shows I can watch end to end without skipping anything. Like, Too Hot to Handle is one of the few shows I watched without skipping scenes, which is so wild to say for you.
Of all the shows, that is the cringiest thing. I'll sit there in my room being like, I can't look at this, I have to look at my phone.
Nah, it doesn't cringe me, that show. That show just does not cringe me at all, which I find really funny, because I watched other dating shows and they tend to, like, be quite cringy, but that one just rolls for me. It's great. Like...
I've been watching Love is Blind with my friends, and I got absolutely hooked, and I was like, oh, I really want to watch more, but I can't watch more without them. So I tried to start series 1, and I got 20 seconds into it. I was like, I can't do it, it's too cringy.
My friends made me watch Naked Attraction, and that was the cringiest thing I've ever seen.
Oh no, Naked Attraction just sounds awful.
The funniest thing about that was it was a gay one, and the two people... At the end, you know, there's like two people they bring it down to two people, and those two people got together, instead of the actual contestant. It was the funniest thing. It was so awkward when they came back for the 6-month checkup and they not got together, because man had got with the other guy on the show.
How did they just like chat behind scenes and they were like, you on the other hand?
literally, yeah.
That's so funny. How does Naked Attraction work? All I know is the, like, viewing them from the waist down.
So, you start off with them, like... Then you view them from, like, the waist down, and then you, like, slowly increase how much you can see of the person. And then the final bit is you actually have a chat with two people, and then you pick one of them. It's a weird vibe. I don't really remember it. It was a late night thing, but I was just watching it like, what is this?
Did your friends try to use the fact that it was gay to get you to watch it? Was that just a coincidence?
Nah, it was just they picked that episode because they said it was most interesting one. I don't know, like, I'm not a fan. It was like a while ago now. I think it's pre-first year. Like, it was a long time ago now. I just remember it being like, oh, that was cringe. That was properly cringy. Anyway, some people like cringe in that show. They're like, haha, funny cringe. And I'm like, please, no. Stop.
Yeah, I hate cringe. Yeah. Well, I feel like that is all the things. That's all the things.
Shorter episode this week.
That's because we didn't plan it.
Next week, I won't have been on holiday, and this week I'm actually going to do some work, so I'll probably have work to talk about this week.
So that was my other problem. This week, I was supposed to be going into the lab from Monday, and I ended up not going in until Friday. Yeah. So I've had like a whole extra week of doing nothing, and I ran out of work to do, which wasn't good. That sounds like a nice thing. It was not good, because my project is due in 3 weeks. So, and I have written 5,000 words, and it is 15,000 words.
Oh no.
Yeah, but I don't have any results to write. That's the problem. So.
Yes, the next few weeks the podcast will be Eleanor stressing out about her project. So stay tuned for more of that. This was the second episode of Teather Time. I hope you enjoyed watching. Quick plug, because that's what you're meant to do. So like and subscribe. Thank you. Check out our shorts if you want to see funny bits.
I'm going to set up an Instagram account.
Oh, what for the show? We're going to have an Instagram account for the show by this time this goes up.
That's the plan, hopefully.
Yeah, cool. So you can watch our reels on the Instagram and maybe some pretty pictures. I'm sure Eleanor I'm sure Eleanor can take like a photo of the setup and be like ready to record, and that can go up. Over pretty cool. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the second episode of Teather Time. And yeah, I really wanted to make a Teletubbies joke right there, and I backed out of it like Teletubbies, and I was like, I don't know if Teletubbies is like the right. I feel like that will age me quite heavily if I admit that I was a Teletubbies kid. So.
Oh man, yeah, wrong vibe, wrong audience.
So the sun is set. You can't see my face anymore. It's dark. So yeah, I'm gonna stop recording now.